Hello everybody! Welcome to my first video for the blog here with commentary in quite a while. Last one I think was Guacamelee back a couple of weeks ago. Today we're looking at Thomas Was Alone. It's a puzzle platformer for the PC. It was released on the PC last year and just came out this past week for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. I'm adult and I forgot to upload my Vita save to the cloud, so I'm going to have to just start here from scratch, which is, excuse me, probably not a bad idea. Don't want to spoil the game too much here. Big part of this is solving the puzzle, so if I showed you the stuff that was later on.
Thomas was alone.
Yep, so we're
First thought to have.
showing Thomas here. It was a real tough level. But now I know how to move, so good thing we made that out. So we have a jump button. Here we'll learn about falling.
Thomas decided to start listing his observations for posterity.
Yeah, so you've got a narrator here.
The whole alone thing. 2. Portals. They led somewhere. He'd yet to work out where.
It's actually a pretty well written game.
Falling. Thomas
I
was
find a lot of the
absolutely
dialogue to actually be
fantastic
kind of
at falling.
funny,
Thomas is
if a
good at
little
falling,
slow.
as he
I
was
can
an
usually get through the levels before. I guess not usually, but at the beginning I'm always getting finish the levels before the narrator's even done doing his little spiel.
Okay, interesting. Thomas couldn't fall past this block. Think, damn it, think. What if there was some kind of inverted fall? Some way to... what's the word? Jump. It worked! Thomas had solved the great inverted fall mystery.
Yeah, so you start out sort of basic here
A big jump. But Thomas
with
noted there was
Thomas.
no real danger in missing it. The world didn't want him to fail here. It was pushing him, but gently.
And just sort of game will introduce more characters. I figure we'll get to at least 3 characters in this game.
This all seemed a little dangerous.
Yeah, so water is dangerous.
The world
You jump in the
was
water
not
and
to
you
be
die.
trusted. It was unstable, and it seemed to Thomas that it could let him down at any moment.
So in Thomas Was Alone, water equal bad.
This all seemed a little dangerous. The world was not to be trusted. It was unstable.
All right, the narration's
It seemed
good,
to
but I'm not
Thomas that it
gonna.
could let him down at
I'm not
any
gonna just
moment.
sit here and watch it. So I'm just gonna go through the levels as quickly as I can. If you want, you can play the game yourself, which I highly recommend that you do. It's a really, I really like it. It's $10 on PC as well as PS3 and PS Vita. PS Vita has cross-buy, so if you buy one version, you get both, and you can play between the two of them.
It might have been paranoia again, but Thomas could have sworn the world was becoming more complicated. It always seemed to be one step ahead of his skills. It had been designed just for him. He wondered why. Was the world testing him?
If you see me falling off edges, that's not because the game has bad input or there's any sort of input delay. It's because I'm, for whatever reason, just having trouble with edge jumping in this game. I'm sure it'll become more apparent as we move along here, maybe even this level.
Something about the boiling, toxic, glowing water intimidated Thomas. He didn't like it. He certainly didn't want to swim in it.
Yeah, that's a good tip for everyone out there.
He made another mental note.
If the water is steaming
Water.
and looks sort of like
Good.
grayish brownish,
To be avoided.
don't swim in it. It's probably not healthy. It's my pro advice for the day. Yeah, so once we see that they introduce different characters, they have different properties. Some can jump higher. Some have trouble with the whole jumping thing. Thomas throughout the game is sort of your baseline. If you want to think about it as like Super Mario Brothers 2 USA, where Peach sort of has like her float jump. Luigi can sort of jump higher than everyone else. Toad, I think, is speed, but Thomas is sort of like Mario. He's the base here. Jumping physics feel real good. Got a good physics system going on here, so I cannot really complain about that.
Thomas had a new theory. The world was training him. He could feel himself getting smarter. There was the mental list to consider. Over the minutes and seconds since his spontaneous generation, he'd become a pretty skilled jumper. He was evolving. He just wished he had someone to share it with.
Oh, poor Thomas. Oh, come on. Yeah, this is one of those games I wanted to play for a while there. I downloaded the demo for the PC version when it came out, and then just sort of never got around to buying it. And then when it came out this week on PlayStation, I was like, oh, I really wanted to play that game, so that's why I'm playing it here. Right now it's more strictly platforming. They do get sort of puzzly elements that they eventually introduce here. None of it's been too taxing. I've only been really stuck once. But there's still an enjoyable feel to figuring out how everything moves. And I really like how they give them all names. So this guy's Chris, as you can see. So, and then they sort of rely on the narrator to give them personality. So Chris is sort of surly here, but see, so surly he's short and can't jump very high. So you sort of come here and help him switch sides. And there you go.
Chris had been doing fine. He wasn't the highest jumper, but he'd held his own. He'd even been graceful at times. Well, not technically graceful, it's probably the wrong word, but you know, fine. There was that skinny little runt leaping about like he owned the place.
Yeah, but the properties just sort of play into one another and gets more complex. Eventually, I'm about halfway through the game, I guess. My understanding is 100 levels. Or 100 levels and then 10 of these sort of chapters. So here we are on chapter 1 after finishing chapter 0. And yeah, so I'm on chapter... I just finished chapter 5, I guess. So I just passed the halfway mark. But you're introduced to all these sort of different mechanics, and sometimes you'll be using up to 3 or 5 of these different characters in one level and trying to sort of combine their skills together. So here, Thomas was too big. So now Chris gets to help out a little bit. This sort of stuff I'm not terribly fond of. Kind of tedious. Especially later levels, you have levels where you're carrying characters. And they don't move with you, so you're moving one character a couple of inches and then going back and moving your other characters, and it gets sort of tedious and boring, but
on the surface, it did not seem good. Chris was pretty scared. Little Red seemed fine.
That stuff is
Could be
pretty
his merry
few
little
and far
adventure.
between.
Chris couldn't shake the feeling that things had taken a significant turn for the worse since Thomas had joined him. Sure, he'd been able to piggyback his way to ever so slightly higher platforms, but where had that got him? Well, to ever so slightly higher platforms, which was sort of his point.
Yeah, but it's got a really good physics system. The jumping is fun and feels good, so
Chris stared at Thomas with
not
pure
feeling too
hatred.
bored of the
He
actual
seemed so very
platforming
happy
stuff.
at their situation. Friends together, a brave fellowship of quadrilaterals on a quest for greatness. That would be fine. But it was all the obvious observation that Thomas was doing which grated. Every time they saw something vaguely new, Chris would hear a satisfied little from the vaulting idiot. He hoped the next portal would split them up, if only for a few levels.
Yeah, so like I was saying, each of them have names and they're given personalities and interactions based on what's happening or what the narrator's describing. Ooh, missed it. We'll probably get to meet John here, so he's the really long block that can jump really high and far. Almost feels like sort of like a solo co-op game, the way you have to switch between your characters. So here we go, here's John.
John knew. He knew that this was his chance. A moment to shine. This was game day.
Oops. So that was the first puzzle that I didn't just get right away.
This would not do. John needed room.
Wouldn't
to
say I
show
got
off
stuck
his
on it, but
exceptional skills. As it was, he was trapped on the wrong side of these little dot things. Where did they come from, anyway?
there isn't much difference between this and the PlayStation Vita version of the game, other than
John inhaled the air of the
with
open space.
the PlayStation Vita version, you can switch between the characters. If you see in the corner there, in the right-hand corner, sort of keeps track of which characters you're controlling, but on the Vita you can just sort of touch that
let the little dots catch up with him.
and it will automatically, or not automatically, but you can select which block you want instead of here where I have to cycle through. I can't say, oh, I want to go right to orange. I have to switch through. I'm mostly playing on the Vita because I think it's like just like a cool little game to get lost in on a handheld platform. Sort of carry with me, play a couple of levels before I go to bed, or although that was my plan, was to just play a couple of levels here and there, and I've ended up, I downloaded it last night and I've already ended up almost beating all the levels. Well, not all the levels, but I mean I'm halfway through already, so there we go. Oops. Can't get up there. John! Help me, John! Help me! In other good news, the blog has surpassed 2,000 hits, 2,000 page views, which I am sort of really happy about. It's pretty awesome.
John was happy to keep helping.
Not a huge amount of views, but
his image that he was seen to help the little guys.
A lot more than I thought anyone was gonna. I was just sort of doing it for myself here, and then got this capture device to make videos, and I've been putzing around with that stuff ever since. Chew. So we'll play to the end of. Ooh. Trying to remember how to do this part. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes. So there are sort of puzzle elements to it. Gets a little more intricate. Intricate the further you get into the game, as to be expected. With any game that's sort of traditional progression. But as of yet, it hasn't been anything that I'm really racking my brain over. Oops. But entertaining nonetheless. Go.
He didn't mind them so much either. Thomas had a charming way of applauding every time John jumped.
There we go. But this is sort of what I mean when I say like some of this stuff can get tedious. The fun is sort of putting it together. Yeah, so you see, I'm doing the same thing I was doing before, just over again, and then over again some more.
The angry orange one was less immediately likable, but his unremitting cynicism and tutting amused John.
Although it does make me curious whether I am doing this right. Or whether I'm just completely bungling this up and that there's actually a quicker way to do this. I'm assuming that it keeps track of time because there are leaderboards. Wrong. Get you up here. There we go. Put our guys in place, move them in there. Yeah, so that's a look at Thomas is Alone. We'll leave it there. This gives a pretty good overview of the game. And yeah, it's out right now. Check it out on PC, PS3, or PlayStation Vita. Take care.
John was sure the dots would be lost, but he was happy to guide them to triumph.